And good morning. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for making the journey to the side stage. I think all the activity's been on that side of the building. I'm glad you found your way here. Thanks very much for that. At an event like this, in a place like this, if you're coming from Ottawa, where I'm from, or Toronto, where a lot of people from the Geotab side are from, you'll really appreciate a few days of reprieve from that weirdo weather that we get up there. So there's a lot of competition for your time, and I really appreciate the time that you're carving out from that for the 20 minutes or so that we'll spend together and to learn more about ProntoForms. My name is Glenn Chenier. I'm the lead for product management and for product engineering at ProntoForms. So ProntoForms is a SaaS platform, software as a service, that is focused on solutions for field work. Okay? By providing solutions that go into the hands for people that are out in the field doing their work, delivering services, maybe doing sales. We'll get into a bunch of use cases in a little bit. Our customers are very, very diverse, and their use cases are very wide. However, we tend to focus on a few key areas that I just wanted to kind of level set some expectations on that. How's that? Can people hear me better? Great. Okay, so some key focus areas for us are oil and gas and natural resources, for sure. And we have a couple of sample customers up on the list there. Second one, heavy manufacturing. Particularly for us, we've had a lot of success in what's called the vertical transportation market. So elevators, escalators, things that move people. Large pieces of equipment, a lot of moving pieces require a lot of maintenance, a lot of service. Another area is HVAC. So we recently, just today, I think we released a video that highlights how Johnson Controls International, is using ProntoForms for all kinds of functions in their operations. Last one is utilities. Another one is utilities. Utilities, a lot of assets, far-flung places, that require constant inspections, require constant service. We've had some great success with some customers in that area. And medical devices is another key area for us. So these are, by no means are we restricted to those verticals, but just to give you an idea of the complexity of the equipment that our customers are dealing with, and sort of the cycles of compliance, the types of data collection that's required to drive their businesses. So how does that fit with Geotab and telematics? So Geotab, and most of the attendees here will know this, is a tremendous solution for fleets, smaller fleets and larger fleets. There's a lot of data coming out of those vehicles. If you've ever been to the Geotab location in Toronto, they recently opened up a new location there. We had the opportunity to take a tour of the facility. It's tremendous, the amount of work that they're doing there to produce devices that kind of normalize all the different vehicles to understand the data that's coming out of all different types of vehicles and bring that up into the cloud in real time. And providing the services on top of those so that resellers or customers can really take action on the data that's coming out of those systems, do reporting, planning, and execution. So a lot of very high value and insights that are coming from that data, and so the value is quite high. And the innovation with electric vehicles, with expansions into other markets, so there's a lot of potential for innovation coming from Geotab. Now, for us, for ProntoForms, for those that are powering the field, this provides additional context for that field work. So what was the vehicle that brought that worker there? What was the trip information that brought that worker there? Can form a collection of data that we will bring along with CRM data, with ERP data, information on parts and procedures that we bring into the workflows that ProntoForms manages and adds additional value for those workers. For ProntoForms, powering the field, where we sort of pick up where Geotab leaves off starts kind of in and around the vehicle. So with the With a vehicle inspection functionality that is part of the Geotab platform, certainly you can meet the, kind of the base compliance requirements to make sure vehicles are safe, that they're being serviced properly, etc. However, if you have vehicles that, say vocational vehicles that have booms, that have additional equipment attached to it, and you require photo evidence or to be able to systematically go around that vehicle and analyze all the different moving parts to that and make sure they're working well, that's where ProntoForms can kind of pick up the slack and do more than what some other solutions will do. However, it's really beyond the vehicle where ProntoForms is going to provide a lot of additional value to the mobile workforce. So ProntoForms has been around for quite a few years, so almost 20 years. So going back even before the introduction of the iPhone to the iPad, of Android, ProntoForms was doing software for mobile back when that meant things like Windows Mobile, Blackberries, even back to the Palm Pilot days. The history of the company is to be hyper-focused on providing solutions for the mobile worker. So providing the solutions for the person outside of the office, the deskless worker. And that's what as that solution, as those technologies have evolved, that's where we've evolved with them to provide excellent services and excellent software around that. So what this means is additional productivity for field workers and additional profitability for the workflows that are associated with that work. Quality and customer satisfaction are values we focus on bringing. The field work really benefits from all of that additional context. So as I mentioned, whether that's vehicle telematics, a work order that's coming from a field service management system or an IT service management system. So think Field Service Lightning from Salesforce, ServiceMax, ServiceNow. Those are all kind of putting workers in particular places, providing particular services and doing things. ProntoForms can take the context from those different systems, including the telematics data, and drive a particular workflow the user is doing when they're there. So we say that that we're best in field. When you look at what ProntoForms does in our focus, we're really focusing on providing solutions for those field workers. We do that in three main ways. So empowering your operations. So providing a suite of functionality, software tools that can benefit your mobile workers. So the types of use cases you might be looking at: vehicle inspections, as we talked about, site check-in, site surveys, safety inspections as before the work starts to make sure the job site is safe and that work can proceed. Other health and safety related inspections, through to equipment installation, preventative maintenance, warranty service. Those types of things can all be enabled with workflows in ProntoForms to really drive the process that the worker is going to go through there. So we provide a library that gives you sample forms, sample applications that are deployed onto the mobile apps that give you a good starting point. What we find with our customers, though, is that most of them they do things their own way, a little bit differently. So you have the option of building your own workflow from the beginning using our tools to do so, or you can base it on kind of a template that comes out of the library. So the value of ProntoForms is to enable a system, a platform for the business user to define how that workflow should work in the field. So it's very important that data is collected in a valid way, in a structured way. So if the business user has is kind of dictating the rules for how a piece of service is to be done, how a service activity is to be done, then they can start to set the data collection rules, and as the data is being filled into the form will react and show only the questions, only the procedures, only the information that's necessary for the service tech to do the next part of that workflow. The system will also, when the forms are submitted, we're going to take care of document generation, generating documents that you might want to send to your customer, immediately upon submission. So if you look at an entire data set that's collected in a form, all of that could be formed into a document that's sent to your back office system, but maybe a subset of that is sent directly to the customer immediately upon submission. Okay? In addition to generating documents, though, we can map that data directly into your CRM systems or other ERP systems on a field basis. So it's not just PDF document generation. We're going to actually integrate that data into the systems that matter to you to run your business. ProntoForms also offers analytics services to give you insight into the data that's being collected in ProntoForms, and also the ability to mash up data that's coming from external services, the same kind of data that's being driven, that's being used in the form. As the user's filling out the form, they're very seldom are they entering in, just data that's keyed in on the glass keyboard. They're very often using pick lists, data that's being imported from CRMs, from other systems that are driving drop downs and auto answering questions as they proceed through the form. So the real power of ProntoForms is the ability for those workflows to be customized by the business user. I'll just get a show of hands. Who has heard the concept of citizen development? Anyone? Okay, we got a few. How about low-code application development or no-code application development, even less? Okay, so Gartner and Forrester haven't gotten to all you people yet. That's great. These are terms used to describe some of the functionality. ProntoForms is considered to be a low-code application platform used by what's called citizen developers. So that's to give it a name, that's what the analysts call it. But essentially what this refers to is a business user who is empowered with some software to allow them to create applications for their end users. So the way I think about this is if you look at, we've all that do really interesting things or powerful things with Excel. They don't have a software development background, they don't have necessarily an IT development background, but they can do things with Excel that are pretty impressive, whether that's just formulas or pivot tables, etc. If you spend a little bit of time to maybe follow what they've done or follow some how-tos, most business people can do the same kind of thing themselves. Right? What Excel is kind of done for the business person, ProntoForms can do for field applications. Okay? Another example would be setting up your own email filtering rules or doing animations in PowerPoint. If you spend a little bit of time on these things with the right tools, you can get a lot of great results from that. And so citizen developers, and really just a name for a person who has some tech savvy and access to the tools to build things can build great things. With field service and ProntoForms, that's the kind of thing we seek to enable. Okay? An analogy to help to bring that in is the robot toys that I have for my kids. So a couple of years ago, a toy called Sphero, so the little ball, kind of the bottom part of the BB-8 robot in the Star Wars films, that rolls around. It's almost like a hamster in a wheel kind of thing. You can program it to roll around and make it turn lights on and flash and stuff like that. There's software tools that are usable by kids, that my 8 and 9-year-old, so that they can make this thing do fun stuff. The latest one this year is Dash and Dot, where it makes more sounds, and you can follow the recipes using software on the mobile apps and make these things do really fun things. So kids with software can program robots because they have the right tools with the mobile app software to make that robot do cool things. So that's kind of an analogy of what business users who are motivated to provide applications to field workers with ProntoForms, which has a unique set of capabilities for field work, can be accomplished. So what we've seen with some of our customers is when a tool like ProntoForms is adopted within an organization, so lines of business are often trying to solve specific problems, come to us and we help with them build a solution for themselves, or we help them with services to build that own solution. What we'll often do as we're progressing with a customer is we'll look for other lines of business within that same company, or we'll talk to the IT groups of that company and say, why don't you adopt ProntoForms more widely? Because if you put this in the hands of people that have problems, they will find solutions around data collection and getting collected data into their back-end system. Some companies even adopt an approach of hackathons, of exposing that functionality across different departments in their company and seeing what business users will come up with, and they'll have great success in coming up with solutions and functionality that they hadn't thought of before. Empowering field technicians. So I've been talking a lot about how the building process goes. So that's pretty easy for the motivated business user who wants to make the field work better. For the field worker, the benefit is how much easier this can make their lives, how much easier it will be to have them going through guided, user-assisted processes to achieve a goal around providing service, around the health and safety. So the idea is if these forms, if these applications are built properly, you're never exposing unnecessary questions or unnecessary data to the field user. They're going through step by step, and the form is reacting. Things are appearing, disappearing. They're presented with the right selections at the right time. They're giving, color-coded feedback based on, rating systems. Those kinds of things can all be coded within the forms. So this is, pretty important, because what people are used to today are consumerized applications. They're used to downloading apps that work really well, that provide a lot of value, that look really cool. If you download an app from an app store and it's garbage, you will throw it out. You'll recognize that immediately. So it's tough for somebody to go from that in their personal life to going to work and using an application that's poorly made, the user interface isn't thought through, maybe it looks like a website that's jammed into a form, a phone form factor, and asking them to use that. So for a person who's more advanced in their career, who's being asked to replace paper with something like that, you're not going to get a good result. You're going to have a pretty unhappy workforce. If your workforce, if you're trying to appeal to a generation that's more familiar with consumerized apps, with modern applications, with modern mobile software, they're also not going to be too happy. That will translate through to the quality of service and the quality of data collection that you're going to get in your operations. The challenge of subcontractors that we see in a lot of our customers is also worth noting for sure. So back to a utilities example where, and this is from an actual customer story, a pretty serious event happened and they found themselves in a position where they needed to inspect literally hundreds of thousands of assets in the field. Spread across very, very long distances, remote, no connectivity. And they needed to do all this with mobile. So they were faced with the challenge of bringing on hundreds and hundreds of subcontractors, because they didn't have the employees to do this, to get this done in a prescribed period of time with a very consistent result. The data needed to be collected in such a way that reporting and follow-on actions were possible with that. So the ProntoForms solution, which is mobile first, so it works very well on mobile. It's offline first, so it has no problem working offline, even though large sets of data that are coming from CRM systems or asset management systems, like were required for this use case, a list of locations of thousands and thousands of objects, or thousands and thousands of assets, needed to be part of the application and available offline. A location aware, so that they could actually locate where the next pole was, where the next substation was, etc. So we enabled all of that. The forms were built by the customer themselves, a little bit of assistance from us, and that was all up and running in a matter of weeks. So empowering your tech stack, the last one. So it's providing solutions is one thing. Some IT groups will look at this and cringe and say, oh my God, you're enabling a bunch of business users to capture a bunch of data and you want to put that back into my back office systems. That's a terrifying thought for a lot of IT people. With the ability to constrain that and put, and to provide a function or to provide a service that really passes muster with security groups, and that will integrate well with existing architectures, including CRMs and back office systems, really helps a lot. So ProntoForms for Geotab resellers and installers. I jumped one, sorry. ProntoForms for Geotab customers. So who's the ideal customer for this? In and around the vehicles, as we mentioned, maintenance processes that go beyond your typical DVIR. If you see paper, if you're a reseller out there and talking to customers, see a lot of paper in the cabs, ask, is that paper that you're producing? Is that paper you're collecting from customers, from your customers, the customer's customer? In either case, we can help with that. We can get rid of almost any paper form, and if they're collecting paper in the course of doing their jobs, then we have document scanning to include that scan into the work order and get that up into your CRM. We're a great solution to help with installations, to guide installations. So, are there any companies focused or people focused on installations? Okay. There's a few of you. Okay, so when you have hundreds or thousands or whatever number you have of installations to carry out, and you want to do those really consistently, and you want to report on those, maybe you need to document whether there's the condition of the asset before you do the install, kind of before and after, to make sure no one's trying to hold you accountable for damage or those types of things. That's why we feel we're a really good fit for that type of activity. So how we work with resellers. There's, when we're working with resellers, we see the challenge of standing out. We see the challenge of adding increased revenue, of diversifying your business. So as you're talking to customers that are deploying telematics and are doing that sort of work, they're moving people around. Those people are doing things outside of the vehicles. So it's the capability of increasing your revenue base, adding more services to what you do. So we have a couple of different models for how to work with us. We're just a few doors down, about 4 doors down that way. We have a booth, so please come by, and there are some incentives that we have for people that connect with us through Geotab Connect, to the event.